Right then, drinking game for today for y'all. Every single time you hear a content creator or a game blogger or a game journalist or whatever call this the worst kept secret in gaming, take a shot. Or, don't do that maybe because you might die before you get to lunchtime. Channel Blunty endorses responsible drinking. Please drink responsibly. But, it is the worst kept secret in gaming these days. Drink, but I don't think anyone really cares that much, do you? Well, except maybe Todd. I bet Mr. Howard was a bit pissy about it leaking, unless, of course, the leaks were deliberate marketing to help pump up the hype train for the quote-unquote reveal. Who knows? That shit absolutely does happen. But hey, The Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster is here. Worst kept secret drink, though considering it's been moved to an entirely different game engine, maybe remake should have been the better naming convention for it. I don't know. Apparently the bones of the creation engine still rattle away underneath it all, doing the game logic and whatnot, with Unreal Engine 5 taking care of, everything above that, which is interesting, and is perhaps the first real attempt for them to move away from the janky AF, creaky old creation engine crap like we've all been begging for Bethesda to do since at least Fallout 4. Never mind the recent efforts like Starfield, which were, let's say, hampered by creation engine. Hello again, I am Blunty, and I need your advice, actually. We'll dig into this more in a moment, but I have never played Oblivion. Cue the gasping, and I intend to play the remaster. In fact, I'll be streaming it this weekend over on Twitch, so come along and help me out if you like. But I'm not well versed in the mechanics and benefits of its various systems and whatnot, so I want to hear from you experienced Oblivionites. Oblivionites, I like that. What class should a new player like me go for? What race? What kind of build focus? I am, of course, a long way from being new to RPGs, but outside of Skyrim itself, I am fresh to Elder Scrolls in general. So go, please, unleash your advice on the best way to have fun in this game for someone new to it. Because there will be a fair few people new to it because it's a 20-year-old game, and because amongst all the OG gamers like me who just never happened to play it, there's a whole generation of young gamers out there who might be coming fresh to it too. So, yeah, let's see what you got to say. But yeah, this worst kept secret drink announcement was immediately followed by its own sort of folded in nested worst kept secret drink, and shadow dropped immediately, just like the rumors said it would. It's even on Game Pass, of course, as Bethesda is a Microsoft minion these days, which is good for me because I've got a content creator key for PC Game Pass, which means I don't have to find money for it, which is a very good thing for my financial situation right now. But you'll also find it on Steam, on Xbox Series X and S, of course, and PlayStation 5. One must wonder, though, almost inevitably, I suppose, if a Switch 2 version is lurking, awaiting announcement. The Switch 2 is fully capable of UE5 games. We already know of a couple, including Fortnite, unsurprisingly. Now then, let's go back to the thing, what I said. I've never played Oblivion, ever. In fact, the only Elder Scrolls game I've ever touched, and I'd expect I'm not alone in this, is Skyrim. And I didn't even play Skyrim at launch. It was like 5 or 6 years old before I touched Skyrim. And even in Skyrim, this is going to trigger some people, I've never actually completed the main quest line. I liked playing it just fine, even a little stream playthrough once upon a time, but the jank always winds up bouncing me off sooner or later. And I don't mean like the bugs, the Bethesda-ness of it all, the kooky physics and whatnot. I just mean mostly the floaty feeling and really inelegant combat and the poor feedback on reactions of hits and whatnot. I just never really gelled with it. It never felt right to me, and I always wound up getting frustrated with it. Because I love me some action combat, but it's got to feel right, And I know that's a pity, because I did very much enjoy the questing and the characters and the stories and whatnot that I had unfolding before me while I was playing. But that kind of stuff is one of the things that kept me from going to Oblivion, an even older game with even more floaty looking and sort of whiffy combat with no reactions and stuff. as raved about as that game is from its fans, and more than a few I've heard call it superior to Skyrim in many respects when it comes to questing and stories and characters and whatnot, but its combat was, you just look at the combat and you can see it's sloppy and floaty and just even as physicalized, and I just wasn't interested in experiencing that. I knew it was going to frustrate me. But the remaster of Oblivion seems to have very much addressed that as a pain point. They even mention it really specifically in their reveal stream. They spent a couple of minutes talking about it. So combat now should feel more meaty, more physical, more actually like combat, not just waving a sword in front of someone and watching their health bar tick. So that's enticing. Of course, it's also nice. It's a lot more pleasant to look at. Now, I don't mind retro-looking games. I mean, I was there back in the day. I've been gaming for, 4 decades. But this particular era, these sort of first-generation-ish open-world 3D games with their sort of flat and nasty looks and blurry textures and bloom in their baked-in lighting everywhere, it never looked good to me. Even when they were brand new, they always looked a bit ew. And I find it a lot harder to go back to that era of 3D game than it is a nice clean 2D pixel game from a similar vintage. Like, there's a fistful of Xbox 360 games I would love to replay, but every time I try to go back to them, it's just like, oh my god. The jank and the sort of early unevolved control schemes and shit like that always bounce me right off them. Well, almost always. I did a video about a classic Spider-Man game from that era a little while back, and that still holds up pretty well. But you know what I'm talking about, right? There's a few bits and pieces of quality of life stuff they mentioned in the stream as well, but without context of what it used to be like, that's, kind of meaningless to me, outside of the comfort of knowing they paid attention to that, and they brought some modern game design benefits and that have, had some influence in smoothing out some of the more annoying jank and limits games of this era so often had in the UX. I also really quite like they've replaced the original weird facial animations and lip sync stuff with Unreal Engine's automagical lip sync stuff, which works surprisingly well everywhere I've seen it. But yeah, the era that this game hails from 20 years ago, in the days of the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, the Nintendo Wii, I just wasn't playing fantasy RPGs in those days. So while I was, of course, aware of the hype around Oblivion, I never did indulge, but I always did wonder what the fuss was about. So now I get to see, which is exciting. And I'll be going in pretty blind too, because I've never investigated it much. I've never so much as watched someone stream the original game. I've never seen more than a couple of episodes of a gimmick-based playthrough one of my favorite content creators here on YouTube did a year or two back. So very much looking forward to soaking into it and experiencing the world and the characters and the stories, and all supported by the easier immersion that this remaster should offer up. Now, Unreal Engine 5 is, of course, kind of notorious for hitching and shit and, little performance problems. But considering what distractions the creation engine itself can be responsible for, I think that's a fair trade. So yeah, enticing, interesting, exciting. And once more, please do let me know what you're all feeling about it, and please, some advice on class, on build, on race, and whatnot. Is it better to careen off into the world and do a bunch of side missions, or should I stick to the mainline quest for a certain amount of time? Which way is better to level? That kind of stuff. I'm curious to hear some insights and opinions around fun ways to experience it for the first time. And, oh yeah, one more thing. Worst kept secret. Drink! Thank you very much for watching. I am Blunty. We'll catch you next time. Thank you, as always, to the patrons.
These are the closing days of the Third Era, and the final hours of my life. I have seen the gates of Oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see.